Hello, welcome back to the Hyperstamper channel, and I am Laura, and this is number 2 for the last week of August in my series of 10 journals going out. This is a 1931 book called Without My Cloak, and it's just a lovely beige and almost a forest green color, and the image on the cover is this lovely lady holding a basket of fruit and this gentleman suitor here. And there's a swan in the back lake there, and there's the trees, and it's got the books on the ground. It's just lovely. So all I did is I surrounded it with some rose trim and a little bit of trim around the edges, and I just thought that made it look very soft and pretty, which is what I thought the image was. So let's have a little look through. I did keep the original pages in the book. Another lovely image here, and another one as we get in further. Here, Honest John and His Children, book 1. The story takes place in the 1800s. This is a vintage book on how to play games, and this is one on chess. And I've used some texture here, and of course everything in here is authentic, antique, and vintage ephemera. So I've got vintage stamps, signature spines from the book. Over here, I've got a 1936 journal page blank for extra journaling. And this is from an early 1900s children's book. And this particular one had a song, but the images are really quite sweet. And that is all on top of a original page from the book. I did add a couple of tea-dyed pages that I hand stamped on, just for some extra journaling space. And then again, you've seen this pocket before if you're regular on my channel, and that's just a piece of old scrapbook paper. And in the side here, I've just got another piece of antique paper for extra journaling as well. And this is a funny little image from a children's book, as well as here, and a piece of a table runner, crocheted, sorry, is that crocheted? Yes, I think so. My goodness, I should know that. Antique German book page that I put on top of a more plain page there for extra journaling. That's from Freckles, 1904, and 1955 theater arts pages here, which are really quite fun. The images are wonderful, very lively. And then I've got a crochet book page here, and this one is tatting. If you're too young to know what tatting is, Google it. The tatting from 100 years ago and even up to 60 years ago, just absolutely spectacular work. And this is a lovely original photograph of these two women out in the bushes, and that is I pulled that from the original photo album, and I love that picture. So if you're a sister, or it could be sisters or friends, cousins, just wonderful. And this is a vintage wildflower page that I did tea dye, and you've got the daisy there and marigold. I actually get requests for daisies specifically, so that's kind of fun. More of that theater arts book here, just the best costumes, best costumes ever. And another the other side of that table runner, but I made it into a pocket. Now this is still in its little protective sheet here, and that is from Toronto, and that is from the early 1900s. Those are our Parliament buildings. That's kind of beautiful for me especially. And then we're going to go over here to a 1955 map, and I don't know where this one's from, but I do say that Winnipeg is here, and I've got the feeling this might be Minnesota, maybe? You can let me know. This is 1001 household hints page from that book. Some of the hints are really awesome. And this is from a University of Knowledge page from 1937. And then I've got this lovely children's book image here from the Grimm's Fairy Tale children's book, which I love. I love it so much. And another one of those Watchman's clock faces, and a 1955 page out of a women's needlepoint and needlecraft magazine. So this one's on knitting, winter socks and hats, and embroidering on coats. And then these really, I think I love them more, the advertisements, even more than the actual images. They're so fun to read, how they used to advertise, 60, 70 years ago. Here's another one of those images from that beautiful University of Knowledge book. More household hands. Oh, I think it was Minnesota. Yay. I do know my geography. Nebraska, Kansas here. I had really a great time with this book of American road maps from every state. It was just awesome. That is from an old deck of cards, a little cluster I made out of it. A 1930s chance card. And just a little envelope I made here out of an antique page from that German book. And a vintage recipe page. And this one is all wonderful chocolate squares, walnut squares, square, square, square. I just love those recipes. And I always say, challenge yourself to make one. See if it's still good as it was, 60 years ago. Sweet little dog image. This one is Toby Dog. This is a whole book of dog stories. And that's actually going to be a journal this week. You'll see that cover. This came out of the Better Crocker cookbook. This is one of the tabs, and this one was for meal planning and table service. This is from 1856. Isn't that wonderful? And this is American Battles book. And even though they're not frilly and lacy, I thought they were absolutely stunning and in wonderful condition, and I really wanted to include them for my American friends. That's an important piece of your history. You get two little puppies here, 1920s music sheet. Another cluster here from an inside book spine, and a 1950s botanical book. And this came from that wonderful Joyous Travelers, which is sold now, but these pages are so thick, they're like cardboard. So I have lots of them, and I'm so excited that I get to use every single one. I made this little tag here, and that's for journaling on. This is from a 1955 stamp collector's book, and a little antique book page back there again. And this page here is from Chez Nous from the early 1900s. It looks like a brand new book, but it is an antique. And this is from that lovely Polish embroidery book from the 1950s as well. Another great little page there with an image. This is one of my last stereoscopes. I only have about a dozen left. And this one is from Japan. So somebody either bought it here in Canada, or maybe Canada or America, or they bought it in Japan, but it is in English, so I'm thinking it was bought here, and that is from the late 1800s. Again, this wonderful inside spine here, a nice vintage stamp. On the other side, we have that Emerald Isle from the early 1900s, and this one is called The Round Tower, and it's got this lovely poem, but places to journal as well, and I loved this book. Down to my last pages from that as well. And I just did some stamping here on antique paper. Look at this, look at those beautiful flowers. I wish it were color, but it's just precious black and white. If you're a painter, you can go in and color them. And then the original page from the book, the end. So there you go. I hope you enjoy that. It's on Etsy, and don't forget to subscribe so you can see them before they hit Etsy, and it's etsy.com/shop/hyperstamper. Thanks.